Hey everyone, Griever here, bringing you guys the latest behind the bar reviews. This week's chapter is 7 Deadly Sins. We had a break last week, whatever, who cares, because chapter 285, ladies and gentlemen, is great. This is a great chapter. Let me say it one more time. This is a great chapter because we're not bullshitting around. We are not bullshitting around in this chapter. We start off, chapter 285, it's like, alright, what's going to happen? Where are we going to jump to? And we're still with Meliodas and Bon in the aftermath of Wild Sacrifice. Okay, I'm good with that. I want to see what their reactions are. And apparently they're being slowly pulled apart. They're kind of falling but drifting at the same time. It doesn't seem to be at a rapid pace in this dimension hole between the real world and purgatory. Now, they're staring at the hole and they're chatting about this. Why is this happening? It's like, Captain, grab my hand. I can't, we're drifting further and further apart. And this is where Meliodas figures it out. You entered, your real body, you entered purgatory through Hawk. So you're going to go back through Hawk's eyes. That's how you're going to return. While my real body is currently encased in a cocoon of darkness, fusing with the commandments. That makes sense. I'm okay with the logic there. And it's like, alright, well that's not a big deal because with Meliodas with his emotions back, he should be able to break free. And as stated later on in this chapter, that if his emotions and himself, his true self, returns to his body, he'll be able to nullify this whole cocoon thing and stop the process. We always assume that would be the case, but apparently it's not a process that once it starts, it cannot be stopped. It's nothing like that by the sounds of it. Of course, there'll be wrenches thrown in the mix later, but for all intents and purposes, that's the way it's going to go. All right, Bon and Meliodas, after mentioning Hawk, kind of like, you know, I really wish we had been able to bring Wild with us. Like, you know, I wish he had seen his brother and all that stuff. And I got to say, the effects of 284 are still kind of like, having a week break after that makes it like, okay, so Wild's dead. All right, let's move on sort of idea. But at the same time, when they're having this little, about a page or two scene, all about saying, Bon saying, well, maybe I'll sing that song that Wild sang. You think Hawk, you know, in the background of his memory will remember it sort of idea. Maybe he'll remember his brother in some type of faint memory thing, like jog his memory, something like that. They're hoping for the best, but they're just talking about it and kind of laughing about it. Kind of, it's kind of heartwarming, but kind of sad at the same time, but still a good scene. Now this is where, all of a sudden, boom, Demon King arm down into that damn hole, which begs the damn question. If the Demon King can throw his whole arm into this hole, are you actually going to stay? Because it seems like he can't reach further in because the hole is only so big and the Demon King is goddamn massive. There's a few problems with this. There's a few problems. The chapter's still great. But the arm goes in, he grabs Meliodas, Bon goes, oh shit. Meliodas goes, oh shit. And the Demon King basically says, I will not let you return to the real world. Problems here. Are you telling me that literally because of the size of the entrance back into the real world, the Demon King can't go there? Because it seems like he's got his whole arm in there. Like, why doesn't he just follow them completely? It seems like he literally can't fit. And that's the only reason the Demon King has not materialized into the real world. If that is the case, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's pretty bad. I'm banking on that's not the case. I'm banking on something that Meliodas will say a little later on in the chapter. But for all intents and purposes, that had better not be the case. That it's because he literally can't fit down the hole when he's trying to grasp Meliodas and grab him. I'm really banking on that not being the case because it just looks kind of silly when you see him there on the ground with his arm down. This is the epitome of all demons, and he's there on his hands and knees like, oh, you know, it's like one of us trying to catch a spider or a bug or something in our house that's running into the little holes in the baseboards or something. It's just, it's kind of comical, really, even though it's supposed to be serious. But what is stated is that Bon is still drifting away and he can't get back because they can't control this, what's happening in this dimension portal thing. So he says, Captain, do not give up. I will come back. And at first I was like, okay, is he trying to like fight against this? I'm like, no, wait a minute. He's saying that once he gets back to the real world, he'll say, Hawk, open your eyes. Like, where's Merlin? I got to go back. I got to go back into purgatory and save him again. We almost had it. We can do this sort of mentality. That would have been really stupid from a storytelling perspective for that to happen. That would have just been weird. But thankfully, Meliodas says, no, don't worry about it. I have the confidence. I will get back on my own strength. You count on it. You go back to the real world, tell everyone what's happening, and save everyone from this war right now. And we all know that Bon and Meliodas have powered up completely. Bon is a powerhouse right now. If he doesn't go back and start fighting one-on-one with like top-tier fighters and literally like fighting them, no low diff, no mid diff, just balls out fight, and he's actually not holding his own, but actually winning these fights. Because you got to remember the amount of years he's been in purgatory, training, and how much his body has adapted to pain. Like, he's not just an immortal body anymore, he's a powerhouse. Now, I thought we'd see his sacred treasure by the time he got out of purgatory. Clearly we haven't. Perhaps someone's been holding on to it for him and they'll bestow it upon him now that he has recognized his healing ability or something like that. I don't know. But so Bon is gone. Bon is going back to the real world, and we probably won't actually see Bon for a little while because of how the rest of the chapter goes. Now, Meliodas is sitting in the Demon King's clutches saying, like, I'll get back on my own strength. The Demon King kind of saying, you can't fight against me. You're ridiculous. Like, did you see what I've done to you over 6,000 times? You're nothing. I'm not going to let you do this. All of a sudden, the Demon King's arm is completely eradicated, completely sliced off. And he's just looking at it like, what? And you see it like slowly dissolving inside the portal. The Demon King's like, what the hell just happened? And Meliodas states, you're right, Demon King. I was afraid. I was afraid because now that this power, and I believe, of course we all believe, he's referring to his original magical power, the one the Demon King talked about. I was afraid of using this because it means that I cannot stay in the real world anymore. So clearly, I'm hoping that, once just jumping back for a second about the Demon King not being able to fit, I'm hoping that that is the reason. That the Supreme Deity and the Demon King and Meliodas with his true magical form cannot actually exist in the real world, in that plane of existence. Their power is too great. Sort of like Soul Reapers in Bleach, the Shinigami, they had limiters placed on them when people of lieutenant class and above went to the real world. Now, just a little bit of similarity there, how their power are so great, the real world can't handle it. So they have to, when they go there, they limit their maximum potential, their maximum power, so that it doesn't interfere too greatly with the state of things. In a similar sense, this is kind of like God Ki, or you can compare it to a lot of things in Shonen, but suffice it to say, their powers are too great for the real world, for the material world to handle, so they need to be in places like Purgatory, like the Demon World, like the Goddess World, whatever that is. Heaven, I guess. And within all that, apparently he's awoken his magical power with no big like build-up or anything, which is kind of weird to me. I guess he's always had it there, but I'm believing that he's been afraid. He's probably going to state this later, that he was too much of a coward. He was too afraid. As he states, I was afraid. Not of using this power for any malicious purpose, like he was afraid of using his demon powers. No, he's afraid of this power because he won't be able to be in the real world anymore. And that means no Elizabeth. Even cursed for 3,000 years and going through over 50 different versions of Elizabeth, he still is too afraid of letting go of his love for Elizabeth. And if he accepts this power and uses it, he will no longer be able, the curse will probably be destroyed, but he'll never see her again. That's the line of reasoning I'm going to go with here, guys. That's the one I'm going to believe that is happening, and that's the entire reason he hasn't used his power up till now. So it's not, there's no plot holes or anything. He always had the power, but he was always afraid to use it because it meant an end of something that he never, even suffering for over 3,000 years as he has done, that was still better than never seeing her again. That's, kind of banking on that's the whole line of reasoning we're going with. So he looks up at the Demon King, and the Demon King's panicked, as far as the Demon King can look panicked. Basically says, you will ruin everything I have tried to build by doing this. You cannot return to the real world as you are now. And Meliodas just kind of looks up at him and goes, finally got to see some panic on that old face of yours, sort of idea. He's nish, nee, 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 nee. You know, that's Meliodas' laugh style, and it's just like, okay, that's Meliodas. He's going back to the real world. Now, after this, though, we jump over to some people that we haven't seen in a very long time. At the beginning of the chapter, we got all the different groups on the cover page. We saw where each group is, what their kind of idea, like these people are doing this thing, these people are doing that thing, and we see all the split off groups on a map. We are jumping to the final group that we have not seen since they all split up. It's Merlin, it's Rudeciel, it's Gilthunder, it's Hendrickson, and it's Escanor. And with this, there's not really a whole lot to say other than the hype that we finally see Escanor again. And he doesn't do a whole lot in this chapter. This is more about Rudeciel's inner thinking and basically what the plot line is going for. So right before this, however, it states real world before Mael has awoken. Now, I'm under the impression this means before everyone made it to Heaven's Theater. That's what I'm going to assume. Because, remember, it wasn't when Mael, like, at the end when he grabs Gowther and everything's okay and he purged the commandments from himself. Which, by the way, what actually happened to the commandments then? Where did they go? Because maybe, like, do they go back to the Demon King? Do they automatically fly away to Meliodas because he's kind of calling for them with this big cocoon of darkness sort of idea? I do have that question. What actually happened to the commandments that were eradicated inside of Mael? Because they're not in him anymore, so I don't know. But this clearly happens before everyone made it to Heaven's Theater and everyone's memories got twisted. Because, unfortunately, I wish this weren't the case. It may be handled really well, so I'll withhold judgment. But I'm thinking that the battles between all the characters here is going to be interrupted by this revelation. Because in this chapter, we see Rudeciel is talking about, okay, here's this cocoon and stuff, and Merlin goes over the fact that the captain doesn't want us to enter, we can't penetrate it, we can't damage it, we can't do this, we can't do that, the perfect cube won't work, blah, 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 blah. Rudeciel states, you cunning, arrogant wench, you know, sort of idea. This is his inner monologue. He's thinking about how you saw through all this. You knew that I had the capability to go in there, and you wanted to be a part of this. You knew I would need allies with strength to come and help me, and you made this work perfectly. You conniving little, you know. So Merlin has a plan here, and she holds, and Rudeciel knows it, holds a commandment on herself. So they're kind of weary about that, and he's like, you better hold on to that, daughter of Belial, sort of idea. Then he goes through Escanor, and he talks about, you know, how he's got the grace and the strength will be needed against the opponents we're about to face, sort of idea. He goes through Gilthunder and Hendrickson, saying that though they lack in combat strength, because Gilthunder has now officially been reduced to the background. Just like Dreyfus, Griever, Hendrickson for the most part, all of them pretty much, all of them. All the magic knights, all the holy knights that we were introduced to, and all the great things, they've basically all been reduced to just background. They're not going to have major fights anymore. They're not going to make the difference, which is kind of unfortunate because when we were first introduced to these characters, I was really hoping that Gilthunder would almost evolve into the 8th sin, in a sense. Someone with enough power to be considered on the level of some of the weaker 7 deadly sins. Unfortunately, he's just been pushed. There hasn't been, the character development for the characters outside of the sins has been extremely stunted to the point that it doesn't really matter. All we do is introduce the high rollers, and the high rollers have to fight the high rollers. Nobody gets to high roller status. Kind of unfortunate, but I'm not too disappointed because we got Escanor. We got Escanor. He makes up for a lot of the problems with that. He makes up for it. Rudeciel, just as I said, states that Hendrickson would be useful as a vessel as well if this one doesn't work out. The fact that they didn't need to use Breath of Bliss, which is also noted in this chapter that Elizabeth does contain the ability. She does have that ability, but she will never use it and has never once in all of her lifetimes used it before. So she, along like the archangels, does have this ability. However, Rudessiel uses the ability called Sanctuary. It's basically Nehru's love from Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Big diamond-looking thing that encompasses them all, and they pierce through this darkness. Now, it tries to reject them, and Rudessiel states as such. This is trying to reject us very difficultly. However, my sanctuary will not be destroyed so easily. Plus, as a bonus, it's becoming much easier because this is the fusion between Meliodas and the commandments. Merlin has a commandment, and that commandment is trying to go in. It's trying to force its way to fuse with Meliodas. It hears the calling, kind of like the One Ring sort of thing, Nazgul sort of idea. It's the same concept here. Now, Rudessiel also states, well, once we get in here, we can't leave. The only way to leave is we got to kill Meliodas to end all this crap. And Escanor is just like, you want to try saying that again, sort of idea. He doesn't say it, but you know Escanor just, really? You're going to try to kill my captain while I'm standing right here? Are you kidding me? I didn't kill him. I had the potential. I was in the one form. And that's still the most badass form we've seen in this entire... What would be great would be to see the Demon King in Purgatory versus the One. I want to see how that shit would go down. But anyways, they kind of state this stuff, and Merlin's totally confident, though. Totally confident. She goes, no, there is one more way. If we return Meliodas back to the way he originally was, right? And Rudessiel, shut down, because Rudessiel's kind of being stupid by laying it so thick on, because Merlin and Escanor are on Meliodas' side. They know, Merlin knows the corruption of the gods. Just know Rudessiel and Stigma are not good guys. Gilthunder is never going to go against Meliodas. He's never going to willingly want to kill Meliodas. Hendrickson is going to be too torn to do anything, and Escanor is not going to stand by and let that happen. So, Rudessiel, sit down. Don't be a cookie-cutter villain in front of these people, because you have no allies here. You haven't convinced anybody like you did back in the past of the Stigma Alliance. This just ain't going to work. Now, here at the end of the chapter, they pierce through, they see the major cocoon, they drop into the original ruins of the castle, and it's a stare-down time. Oh yeah, we have Cusack in demon form versus Merlin, looking badass. We have Rudessiel in Margaret's body, facing down Zeldris, looking badass. And then we have Escanor just towering over the one character that I think can push him to his real limits. Because this is Chandler in demon form, the one that literally can call the night, which totally gets rid of Escanor's ability. Now, I don't think they're going to pull a cheap stunt like that before. I think that was an excuse when they first introduced Chandler fighting the Sins and stuff. I think that was just an easy way out to keep Escanor out of the fight for right now and showcase Chandler's abilities, which was a great fight. That was a metal fight. That was totally great. That just worked to the advantage. And it's totally within the realms of Chandler's abilities. But I don't think they're going to pull that stunt again. Even though he probably could. Maybe Merlin can counter it with something. I don't know. Either way, I think that they're actually going to have, all three of them are going to have balls out fights. Now, before this, it's stated, now there was a translation error earlier, but I did wait a little bit before doing the review to see if they were fixed, and they were. There was a repeat line from Rudessiel in the same text bubble, and there was also the fact that they stated, Lord of the Angels, Daughter of Belialan, and the Escanor, the one who killed our brother Estarossa. So I believe, for the sake of confusion, that's why at the beginning when we jumped over to this group of characters, they stated this is before Heaven's Theater. This is, once again, they say male awoken, but this isn't before male awoke. This is before anybody reached Heaven's Theater, because that all happened very, very quickly. This is before anybody's memories were altered or changed. Now, they said killed before, but they did fix it. It says defeated our brother Estarossa, because what? He's not dead. Like, I mean, he never existed, but blah, blah, blah. That's semantics. So This is going to be a great fight. I hope they don't jump away from this. I know we got to see Bond come back and all that stuff, but we spend so much time with that group of characters, which is where Hawk currently is with Gother, with Elizabeth, with Deanne, King, all them with Mail. That's where they are right now. I don't want to jump back over to them. Maybe jump over to them just to say, oh, Bond's back. Okay, like 3 or 4 pages, but then jump back to the fight. Like, I want to see the fight go down. Now, the way this is shaping up, I believe that's what's going to happen in Chapter 286. I believe that we'll jump back over to that. Just at the beginning of the chapter, we're going to see Bond come back, blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa, did you feel that incredible energy sort of idea? Then we're going to jump over, and they're already going to be balls out fight. Everyone's already going to be like, we're going to see the place all destroyed. We're going to see fire burning in the background. We're going to see, sparks flying. We're just going to see Escanor having big slashes all over himself. Chandler's face half gone, like Whitebeard. It's going to be balls out. I hope we do something like that, but I don't want them to cut it short. I want to see honest fight. I want to see chapters worth of this fight. These are 6 combatants that we have been waiting to see this go. Like, we're not doing this one-on-one crap. We're doing an all-out melee between these guys. I mean, they're going to be focused on each other, but it's all happening in the same room. It's going to be pretty awesome. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm really excited about these next few chapters, assuming they do not jump away. We finally get some Escanor love, and I don't want to jump away from it. Now, before I end the video, guys, because I know this is a long review, but I felt like there was a lot to talk about, and we had a break last week, so really excited to be back with 7 Deadly Sins. There was a comment on one of the forum sites after the chapter, and it stated something that I thought very clear, because a lot of people are saying that Escanor is going to lose. There was foreshadowing with him coughing up blood, and even before that, with Rudeciel stating to him, graces cannot exist in human bodies. What are you? There's no way you can withhold a grace for this long. And we've had theories about that. We've had questions. I think now more people might have done this, but this is the first time I saw this theory. And so shout outs to who posted it. I forget your name. I'm sorry about that. If you know who I'm talking about, post in the comments below and let me know that it was you. But they stated, because a lot of people are saying he's going to lose because of this, there was something even further about this. And I'll keep it very brief, but what it boils down to is the fact that once Escanor got his confidence shattered, in a sense, by Merlin, because he heard all about this. Remember, when Merlin was with Arthur, took the damage from Zeldris, and said like he's the one who needs protecting, and Escanor overheard it, and then he tried to kind of comfort Merlin after Arthur was injured, as far as we're going to consider it right now, in a sense, and he didn't know what to do. His confidence has been shaken. His confidence has been rattled, and we haven't seen the effects of that. Someone brought this up. Escanor's true power, his true magical ability, if you want to call it that, is not sunshine, because that's a grace. His power is his pride. His actual power is pride. Now, a lot of people are going to go, well, that's a sin, that's a sin. No. And they laid it out very clearly in one paragraph, and I take way longer to rant about it. But what it is simply stating that his pride, he believes. He has believed his whole life. His power is his pride. He has believed, I am strong enough. This is my power. I own it. I control it. I can win. I can defeat that person. I can do anything I set my mind to. He has never doubted, even for a millisecond, that he can win, or that he can control, or he can do. Put I can and whatever you want. Escanor believes he can do it. That's who he is. But now, through all these years, it would explain as to why the toxicity of the grace has not killed him already. How he can control it, how he can utilize it, and how he can survive for over 20 years with the grace, which, according to Rudeciel, is not possible. Human body would be broken apart by it, and not only has his body not been broken apart, he's actually utilized it, used it as his own power, and for decades. So you jump through all these hoops, and you get to the fact that once his confidence was shaken by the fact that his heart was for Merlin, and he overheard that stuff, that's when all of a sudden, that is when he started coughing up some blood. Only at this point. And Escanor looked at it funny, like he wasn't sure what was happening. And we've seen the a slight demeanor change in Escanor. He's not he's more grave, he's more grim about it. He's not in his happy place. And I believe, like this person stated, that is the reason. So during this fight, a lot of people are saying he's going to lose, and a lot of people are saying, no, he's going to start losing, then Merlin's going to say, like, wake the hell up, you idiot, and then he's going to jump back up, and round 2, the woman I love I believe it's going to be even darker than just her doing that. I believe that she's going to get in trouble, and he's going to save her. This whole love triangle thing, this mistaken thing that I believe Merlin actually does care for Escanor, but she is not in love with Arthur. This is what has shaken Escanor's confidence. So I believe this is all going to come to a head, and it's going to come to a head in a great way. This can be done so well as long as it's paced well. I'm looking forward to it. Something's going to go down with this, but I just wanted to put that theory out there because I thought it was the best thing I've heard about Seven Deadly Sins in a long time, that is the reason. It explains everything. It explains how Escanor, the only thing it doesn't explain is why did Escanor get the grace in the first place. But what it does explain is how did he survive this long with it? How did he use it for this long? He is just a human that was bestowed with the grace. Why all of a sudden it has started to affect him in a negative sense, why he coughed up the blood, and why his confidence is going to be shaken in this fight. It ties up all the ends. The only thing it doesn't answer is why did he get the grace in the first place? But maybe it's because, for whatever reason, maybe Wheelchair Gother once again looked onwards or something, but he wanted to eliminate Sunshine in a sense. So I'm not 100% on how that necessarily occurred, but maybe it was because he was the only human. He was the only one in the vast of characters at the time when Sunshine was lost to Mail whose body could handle it. And whoever decides that, the Supreme Deity, maybe the graces themselves, we saw the commandments have a manifestation on their own. Perhaps Sunshine itself has its own manifestation, and it looked vast and wide, and it decided, after looking for thousands of years for a host, it found Escanor and realized, this guy can handle me. Just saying, it could be possible, and I'm not unhappy about it. So that being said, guys, this video's gone on long enough. What did you guys think of the chapter? What did you think of the review? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, it's always very much appreciated. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for Chapter 285 of 7 Deadly Sins. Please, guys, drink responsibly. Post in the comments below if you like that theory, if you don't like that theory. I think it's great. I think it would add so much depth to the character of Escanor. But what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. Drink responsibly. We'll see you next time.